discuss on Tuesday. We've had a couple of discussions about it already, so now it's time to start deciding.
Might I ask a small question or semi-question suggestion? If that, not that we don't love you, Anita, but let the community know what not filling Anita's position once you get there. Put it out there saying, oh yes, thanks Anita, we loved you, but we're not filling your position because we bought new doors. I don't know. I'm sorry,
Yeah. I think we're kind of moving into maybe a phase of attrition as a means of staffing cost control.
And I think maybe that's a further
And
discussion for April as we bring
Yes.
forth several ideas.
But if the public knows the impact to them,
Mhm.
what does it mean to me
Right.
that I can't get to an Anita?
Yes. Understood. Understood. How does it affect me?
It's an important question.
Always.
I had someone approach me at the time of the parade in terms of signing the petition for the custodians
Mm.
for the District 202, who at this point are going to be possibly replaced by an outsource.
Mhm.
And when I shared that we had been in a similar position and I was not, I don't know enough of the facts to be able to know whether that is a good or bad thing for them, the woman was very surprised. But we have done many things in terms of cutting, including the remodeling on a dime, which I think actually was a tenth of a dime, because there's no room left to even move. That, again, we haven't publicized as a way in which we're doing cost cutting. All along, we have been doing little things, we're tweaking constantly to try to keep in the black and try to continue to provide services. I looked at the number of rooms. We have never had so many room usages ever in the statistics as we have right now. 200 and some this month. And I know when we want to have a meeting, we have to go someplace else.
Right.
We have met quite a few times in the story time room downstairs.
Well, and I asked for tonight anticipating a potentially larger crowd if we would be able to move down to the large meeting room, and it's booked.
No, it's broken.
So,
Half serious, and I rarely am. But I think Jason, Plan B, you have those, the portable classrooms like they have at schools. So you put those out in the parking lot, and we can meet in there, and we could have all your classrooms in there, all your meetings and whatnot. Just
we
start
get
stacking
complaints
them.
about parking though.
And you can start, well, I never heard that, you stack them, 3 stories.
There we go.
Instead of.
Thinking about that win today with those stacked 3 highs, that's a
Well,
liability
I went
nightmare.
around the block to make sure this was here before I went to my office, because it's pretty windy.
Vicki?
My fear would be that when you go and you're questioning stakeholders and constituents and so on, and I think this is maybe a little bit what Judy's talking about, people don't tend to change until you're truly affecting them, right? It's the old, what was the thing where I forget the senator who was very anti-stem cell or cancer research until lo and behold he woke up and his doctor said you have cancer, and then suddenly it was a deal to him, right? So that now it's a big thing. So my fear would be, and Anita will know I certainly don't mean her any offense, that there's going to be a large number of things that people who simply are those dedicated know, that percentage dedicated know, that if you try to come to them with a way to maybe get in to change their mind, you're never going to find that, right? Because they will say, well, good, I don't care about Anita or your public outreach, or good, I don't check out DVDs, so what if you're not buying, or good, you're never going to win them over. So isn't the key of that extra 7% that has to be gotten getting more to the people who are exactly like the 40% who did come out positively, and finding them and making them get for the vote? It's not so much, I don't think you're going to change a ton of hearts and minds, is what I'm
No.
saying. So, you know, it's more of bringing out your constituents who are supportive than it is. There's just not gonna be, I don't think there's gonna be 7% of people that you're gonna change their attitude on it. That's still a pretty big number, so.
I think they're out there.
You do?
I think they're out there. And I think it's a variety of things. I think with this listening tour, what we're gonna find out, especially with that last question, is what would make a difference? And then we take that and we come back to an architect and we say, all right, here's what's a priority, here's what's not as much.
Okay.
We thought it was, how do we work around that? And we work with that, we take a look at square footage that we thought was necessary.
Right.
Whether it's parking or a dollar
And-
and
and if we get
whatever.
half a
that
percent
different
here and half a
Right.
percent here, and the total cost goes down to this, and then we pick up another 1.5% there,
Okay.
we can hit 7.
Right, that in a combo platter of maybe there
Yes.
are 2 or 3% of people who really meant to come and vote yes, but something happened, they didn't, and it wasn't a big deal. So by the time you combo platter that up, you can
Yep.
get there.
Yep.
That I can see, that I could understand, seems very reasonable.
Well, and also to make sure that as they leave here tonight, for instance, that they are registered. You know, I was depending on some of my tenants, and I'm not registered because I don't want to be caught up for duty, called for jury duty. You know, so I was counting on it. You know?
Yeah.
And of course, you can register, I guess.
Same
You
day
can
registration.
They
register.
did do the day of
But-
this year.
But I don't think they all know that, and that's another, another 5 minutes out of their life when you should be at work or something, I don't know,
Yeah.
but that could be a drive for those that you know that use this and would vote yes if it was more convenient.
First of all, we have to ask how you vet your tenants. Now we have to know how you vet your tenants.
They know.
Sure.
John, maybe you're the person to answer this. What would be the manner in which we determine what figure to quote as the average home price? I noticed that as I was looking through some of the communities around us that had a referendum on the ballot, they talked about a $100,000 home.
I'm going to defer to bond counsel on that.
Okay.
No,
I don't know. Okay.
well, it doesn't matter what I think, it's what the average home price is.
Right, yeah.
Well, and I don't know if you
Pull up,
quote
we pull up.
average, is that his mean?
It's
Is
the
it
census,
median?
the census data that we utilize the US Census data for the average price. But we can break it down any way you like. We can break it down for 100,000, 200,000, 300,000, we can break it down any
I
which
understand
way.
it can be, I'm just, I guess, asking, is there some kind of a formula most people use? Because,
They utilize the average most often,
is that the
Well-
mean?
yeah.
Yep.
Not the median?
Right,
Correct.
not the median.
I
And
think
then
what
it
you're
says-
remembering the difference in too is that on the tax rate question, it is a per $100,000 of assessed value,
$100.
which is different than the average value, which was what we were using as a public
I
figure.
understand that.
And-
I was going through the newspapers.
Right.
And I called and shared with Julie on the homes that were sold.
Mhm.
Plainfield has a lot of homes being sold. I don't know, some may be brand new for that matter, that are just published, these closed
No.
in the paper.
Yeah.
There was not a one that was anywhere within $100,000 of what
Well,
we
no.
consider the average.
No, when we talk about an average, we have a very broad range
Broad
in
range,
Plainfield.
exactly.
And the ones that are selling right now
Now,
are on the lower end, so
I
you can't
understand.
call that representative.
We lost a lot in terms of property values when we had the recessions.
Mhm.
And into our community as well as elsewhere. And I heard a comment today, and the comment was, well, you know that if I could ever afford a $300,000 house, I probably wouldn't be against this. But after all, if that's who the average person is, you don't need me.
And that's the problem with having to use an average, is that there is not
And
an
that's why I want
average
to know, is
person.
that necessary?
Well, for the bond language,
I'm not bond counsel, I'm the bond underwriter.
Right, but-
So it is necessary to use the average?
Yeah, I believe it was in the question, it has to be in there.
Well, no, it's not the average.
It's
It
the-
has to be to $100,000 of assessed,
Assessed value.
or of
Right.
home value, sorry.
right.
So that is in the statutory language, and that cannot change.
This is a
The way that is
conversation we
worded
had
can,
in
we
December.
had this conversation, yes,
I
in
know we did.
December, that in the informational campaign literature, we used the average home value because we figured that was
Something people
average.
can grab onto.
Something people could
Right. Right.
kind of get, you know, my home is worth a little more, my home is worth a little less.
But regardless, what I saw is my taxes are gonna go up 90%.
Right.
That's what I saw. 90% of 7,000 or $8,000 I pay, that's a lot of money. And that's the way it was perceived those sides.
Yep.
Believe me,
We know.
Oh, yeah, no, that,
someone should go to jail.
well, there wasn't any committee behind that one, nor was there any names of who it was paid for by, so.
Here's what I know though, they're not gonna get to reuse them.
Where they live.
Ha.
So, do you think we're ready to go forward with this?
Well, I think what we need to do is, you and I probably need to sit down and figure out a way to divide up that list. And get it out to people to start
Yeah.
responding to. I mean,
and-
this is
and
never a
provide
decision item,
you
this
guys
is a,
some-
we're saying we're gonna do this.
Yeah, we're
And we
committing
either
to
have
it
the data or we don't when we get back together in April.
and making you guys some, you know, little grids that you can either come in and pick up or print off at home that, you know, you just fill in the answers. That, you know, for those of you who are more tech savvy, who would be perfectly happy to type those up yourselves, can do so. And those who are more comfortable taking their notes by hand can just drop them off as they're done with them here at the library. And yeah, getting through the actual list, Anita and I can get that shared with you first,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
we'll go
Take a
from
look at it.
there.
And these are not electronic. We are dealing either with phone or face-to-face.
I would highly recommend that.
Oh, yes, yes.
It's a cup of coffee, it's a phone call.
You bet.
Yep.
Well, I believe in that, because I think electronically,
Yeah.
you're gonna get
Yeah.
sidetracked by them.
Well, you're gonna get extremely clinical answers, because they have time to think about it versus whatever they actually tell you in person. And those are two different,
Yeah.
as a person who lives on his electronics, those can be two different very answers. Especially if I have time to really think about it.
And it can be very, very simple. Can I just have 5 minutes of your time to ask you a couple of questions? You know, it doesn't have to be, this isn't a long conversation.
no,
This is an in and out.
And it should be the 3 questions and their answers. And not follow-ups, not leads, not what did they come up with when we ask these questions, so that we are getting their unfiltered responses to try and work from.
Should these be the people we know?
Well, that's gonna be the dividing up part. Yeah, you know, we all were asked to contribute names to these lists, and so certainly that'll be part of this divvying up process, is redistributing those in those groups as much as possible.
Not
Okay.
that I think I have anyone's specific answers, so you're gonna have to figure it out.
Okay,
Okay.
we'll work that out. We'll work that out.
All library people, they can figure out how to do stuff.
We can. Anything else on building and expansion?
I think that and Plan B are the,
All right,
are two.
moving on. Item B, new business. Working budget, 2016.
You all have it in your packet.
An updated version even.
Oh,
Yeah.
and the most updated version that actually had all of the headers on it for a change. For some reason, every time Deb combined the PDF, the headers all went away. But the biggest things to remember is that we do have that sizable reduction to the per capita grant on the income side. And the small ExxonMobil grant is an increase, and the small increase in the overlapping districts agreement. On the outgoing side, we pushed things around within budget lines. Our bottom line actually was reduced. If you look on page 6 of 13, you can see, second line from the bottom on the side there, we have actually reduced the amount of the overall mid-year budget from $3,160,000 and odd change to $3,136,000 and odd change. So, there is only one substantive increase in any budget line, and that is actually within the building sites and maintenance fund on page 11.
Which is unnumbered.
It's the unnumbered one.
Ah,
I don't
yeah,
know
of
why I
course.
did, don't know why I did that. And that is allocating for the spring projects as discussed, if those of you who recall, the extensive meeting of the Building and Grounds Committee in the late fall, at which we went through every point in this building and discussed.
And our other building too.
Yes,
We really did
and,
this.
and discussed some primarily exterior work that needs to be done, so that's why it's waiting till spring. So allocating, but that particular budget line is where fund, the Building Sites and Maintenance Fund, has been allocated for these type of projects and has a hefty fund balance.
I think one other thing worth mentioning is that insurance, which was the offset to the.
Oh, yes, and
That's a big change.
we did allocate the dissolution of the joint self-insurance pool by Limerick. When those funds came back to us, it was our attorneys and auditors' opinion that that money had lost its character as insurance fund and could be returned to the general fund to help offset the loss of the per capita grant.
Yeah, thank goodness for that. Too, we can't count on that every year.
And
Not every year.
yeah, so we're told that we will get per capita grants in the reduced amount. Whether a check actually arrives by June 30th?
Yeah, I believe money's coming out of the state when you actually have a check in your hand.
So.
It doesn't bounce its way here through Springfield?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it doesn't bounce when we actually cash it. That would be nice.
We have had skipped fiscal years
Yeah.
in the past with the per capita grants and received it in the following fiscal year. So it's-
All right. Any questions for Julie on the mid-year? All right, excellent. New business item 2, policy revisions.
Oh, you guys did.
Right. So this is
discuss it like
Yeah.
page. Way at the end, where to go? 94?
The last.
What page was it on?
I flipped mine over, sorry. I
You
lost track of it.
actually have to vote on the working.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Working budget does require a vote, yes,
Oh, well, we should probably do that too.
because it's not a report, so we can vote on this without an audit. So yes, please.
Okay, I move that we accept the revised working budget as presented.
I'll second that.
Second, Jason, thank you. Julie, roll call.
Yay. Lisa?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
Vicky?
Yes.
Sharon? Sharon.
Sharon,
Pat?
Yes.
She's normally over there somewhere.
Somewhere.
Carl?
Yes.
Crystal?
All right, passes unanimously. Thank you for that work, Julie. That was the most exciting. Now, to item B2, the policy revisions that we have to approve.
Terribly excited.
Right, and we have a page, which is a change in equipment, due dates, moving from 7/14 to universal 21, assuming this is to be consistent with others in our area, as we always
And-
seem to do.
And it's also consistent with our standard loan period of 3 weeks. What we found is that the equipment, there is not enough demand. There are so few items in this category.
Right.
Demand isn't huge. This is stuff like the kilowatt
Yeah, it's like the
meters.
kilowatt and the Nooks. thing.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
Roku.
the older e-readers.
I mean, the kilowatt thing is kind of cool. I don't know why it's not more popular. I checked it out the day we got it in and used it all around my house.
It's
Right.
kind of nifty.
Besides which you have to.
It was
store it.
cool.
So if they take it out, they may. have to
Yes,
keep
take it,
away.
get it out.
Yep, exactly.
That is nice to have those off our shelves for a little bit.
Any questions about the policy change then? If not, a motion, please.
Make a motion to accept policy change to Appendix 3C for equipment to move from 7 or 14 days to 21 days.
Thank you. Second, Lisa, thank you. And all in favor, say aye.
Right?
Opposed, same sign. All right, unanimous, thank you. We do not have any business for executive session unless something new has come up. At which point, I will then entertain a motion to close the meeting.
I move we adjourn.
Thank you. Second, Jason, all in favor?
Right.
Opposed? Abstaining.